legislative sessions at the state capitol working with Copper State Consulting. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Stacy, it's always good to talk to you. If we can. All right. Well, we don't have her pulled up, guys. Hello? No? Okay, I guess not. All right. Well, we'll start with an issue that's loomed large in yesterday's election in other parts of the country, and that is abortion. It's one of those topics that no matter what is done at the legislative or judicial level, you always have a large group of people who are unhappy with the outcome. The farthest left thinking is that abortion is an option long after fetus viability, and the far right wants all abortions outlawed with punishments for doctors who perform them and women who receive abortions. That's not where the middle part of the electorate is located. With Ohio voters passing a constitutional amendment enshrining abortion rights there, will this be an issue here in Arizona, Emily?
It's going to be a huge issue in Arizona. You know, we've had our own legislative battles on this topic, and I think what we are finding is that the vast majority of American and Arizonan voters are right there in the middle, where they want a woman to be able to make the decision with her doctor. And whether you or I agree with that, or the far left or the far right, that is where the voters are. And not only can that sway who they vote for, it can change who turns out to vote. It can be very motivating to the left.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. My question kind of really lies in, where is that sweet spot? Have we found that with the 15-week limit on abortions in Arizona? Does that satisfy everybody enough? I mean, it doesn't seem like we should swing all the way to the other way. Like, that's not going to make the electorate happy if we have what are, termed partial birth abortions. Right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it sounds reasonable. And I think that the real crux of the issue doesn't fall with the details of the issue or the timeline, whether it's 8 weeks, 15, 20. Mm-hmm. I think what it's coming down to is sort of a shell-shocked electorate that the Supreme Court ruled the way they did, and that feeling of rights being stripped away, or maybe, the argument about going back to Arizona territorial law was concerning for people. And I think that that's what we'll see an increase in Democratic voters and women voters.
Stacey, do you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. And I think it's even a bit more broad than that. Viability, which is what's being proposed, it has a very distinct meaning for a woman who is with her doctor talking about her pregnancy, and allowing a woman and her doctor to define what viability is, and just the two of them in that room, or the husband if he's there too, boyfriend, whoever, is extraordinarily important. It's, I have autonomy over my own body and whether or not I want to continue to carry a non-viable pregnancy. And that could be at 4 weeks. That could be at 14 weeks. It could be at 24 weeks. Those are decisions that women should be able to make with their doctors.
Okay, we've got a lot of more topics to get to, so I'm just going to leave you with this question. Real quick answers, if you don't mind. Emily, does this just stay a candidate issue, or does this actually end up on the ballot as an initiative?
I think there's a good shot it's going to be on the ballot, which is going to have a huge impact.
Stacey?
Absolutely. They're gathering signatures now. It was a lovely day in front of the World Series to sign that petition.
Okay. All right. Very good. The economy, always looming large. It's the economy, stupid, that famous James Carville line from Bill Clinton's day. Stacey, can Biden weave a successful narrative of a positive economy here?
Gosh, the complaints about the economy have permeated all areas of our electorate. And I say this even looking at last night's election results and the folks outside Loop 101 who resoundingly rejected school bonds and overrides. Mm-hmm. And you look into the center core of Phoenix, those folks tend to be more affluent. They're spending less on gas. They likely have college degrees. They're living in Arcadia or Central Phoenix. So the economy is important there, but not as critical as it is in some of our outer areas. And that the key to success in Arizona is getting a suburban woman in Gilbert to vote for you, regardless of the party what the letter after your name, regardless of your party of origin. You don't win without those crossover folks.
Yeah. Emily, can Donald Trump always go back to the well of things were better under me?
Oh, yes, he has, he is, he will. And I think, what we're looking at right now for Trump fans, and I say fans because they're more passionate than supporters, is the ultimate do-over in a Trump-Biden election. And now Biden owns anything that's wrong in the country. And so, maybe Trump got saddled with COVID and it wasn't over at Easter and he had to own that. Biden is going to own what's happening in the country today, and Trump is going to use that against him.
All right. The border, ladies, I said in a commentary the other day that I believe it may be the issue that's holding Biden back here. He's down 4 or 5 points to Trump. Do you think that is the key issue for him, Emily?
Oh, I think it's huge. He hasn't come and visited our border. You'd be hard-pressed to find a statewide elected Democrat that will stand for a photograph with President Biden, and I think the border has a lot to do with it.
Stacey, even Governor Hobbs has made friends in the Republican Party by putting money on the border. Does Biden have to acknowledge that we have one?
I really do hope he acknowledges we have one. And so much of the issue we're facing is not just the border in this geographic sense. It's what's coming through. And it's the kids who are dying of fentanyl overdoses. It's the folks we all see on our way to work in the morning, asleep on a bus stop. So the border has taken on a new dimension in Arizona that it really isn't just about this geography. There's a direct connection between the drugs the kids are taking here or the gentleman at the bus stop there and the lack of control we have at the southern border.
All right. That is Stacey Pearson. She's the co-founder of Lumen Strategies. Emily Ryan is kind of representing the right here. She's with Copper State Consulting. But of course, candidates will be the biggest reason that $821 million is expected to be spent on political ads in Arizona over the course of the 2024 election season. And the highest profile candidates will be Joe Biden and Donald Trump fighting for the presidency, followed by what could be a very quirky U.S. Senate race. We'll get into the candidates next with these ladies coming up on Arizona Votes 2024, a year out. It's our special election coverage a year ahead of what's going to be a big election year. 72 Sold is the #1 fastest growing real estate company in Arizona, and they're top 5 in the country. This is Jim Sharp, and for the second year in a row, 72 Sold has made the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing companies in America. Why? Well, because with 72 Sold, you can sell your home in only 8 days. Any 8 days you choose. And they get home sellers thousands more. Put in your address at 72sold.com to get your price, a higher price, at 72sold.com.
Does it get any more American than Ford? Ford is America for over 100 years. Paul Calvise here. We just bought again from our Desert Ford dealers. My first car was a classic Ford Mustang. My grandfather worked for Ford Motor. But make no mistake, Ford is the future. That all-new 2023 F-150 with the all-new interior, designed to be the toughest, most productive F-150 ever. In fact, no outlet, no problem. Just plug in all those power tools right into your F-150. Speaking of, how about the 2023 Ford Mustang Mach-E? 100% electric, 100% SUV. I drove it. I'm like, man, I see why they call this the new shape of freedom, with 0 to 60 thrills, the expansive range, 0 tailpipe emissions. And don't forget to download the Ford Pass app and earn Ford Pass rewards points for complimentary maintenance when you buy or lease a new Ford. Or you can place your order and lock in your offer. Just click buyfordnow.com. buyfordnow.com.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Now is a great time to start making smarter money decisions. Dave Ramsey here. Give the outside of your home some much-needed curb appeal with Rhino Shield permanent ceramic coating. Painting your home with traditional paint means you'll have to repaint every 4 to 5 years, costing you more over time. But with Rhino Shield permanent ceramic coating, you won't have to touch the exterior again for years. Rhino Shield comes with a 25-year warranty. Your home will always look like it's just been freshly painted, guaranteed. No chipping, no flaking, no peeling, no kidding. So, if you're thinking about painting your exterior, call Rhino Shield first for a free estimate and ask about their ceramic technology and its ability to reduce your cooling costs. Perfect for the Arizona climate. Tell them Dave Ramsey sent you, and you get 20% off a regular price. So call 855-487-4466 or visit rhinoshieldaz.com today.
Where is your pain? In your knees, hips, your back? Don't let it sideline you any longer. And don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics now for the future of pain relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue the natural way. This is the science of using properties from your own body to bring you lasting relief with no drugs and no downtime. Get started now so you can live big in 2024. Talk about a great use of your FSA and HSA. Put them to work getting you the relief you need so badly. These new advanced regenerative treatments are getting amazing reviews for people with arthritic pain or pain from an injury. Again, no drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Let the medical professionals at QC Kinetics give you a better path toward that pain-free life. Call QC Kinetics now with clinics in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Peoria, and Chandler. 602-837-PAIN. That's 602-837-PAIN. 602-837-PAIN.
I'm Doug Hopkins with My Home Group and DougHopkins.com. If you're looking to sell your house and want the convenience of a guaranteed cash offer, I'd be honored if you gave us a try. I've been working in Valley Real Estate for 25 years and have purchased over 18,000 homes during that time. DougHopkins.com offers you peace of mind while selling your house. Since I'm paying you cash, there are no banks involved, no closing costs, no expensive real estate commissions, and you can sell your house in as-is condition with no repairs. I take care of everything. DougHopkins.com will give you an honest cash offer for your house. We'll put it in writing and we'll guarantee it. We're not going to bait and switch you by offering a high amount contingent upon inspections. Then down the road, come back and try to renegotiate to a lower price. The price I offer the first time is the price I'll pay, and I'll guarantee it with a $5,000 non-refundable security deposit. It's as simple as that. Just go to DougHopkins.com for your free no-obligation cash offer 24 hours a day, or call 1-800-SELL-NOW. That's 1-800-SELL-NOW.
I served my country honorably in the Marine Corps, and now I've been serving you for over 2 decades. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth. I met my wife on a blind date at Camp Lejeune. She also served in the Marines. My daughter recently graduated college, and my son was an air traffic controller in the Air Force. They also work in the business. Why am I telling you this? Because Trajan Wealth is both our livelihood and our family's reputation. Will we work hard for you? You're darn right. I don't have a board of directors to answer to. The buck stops here. My fiduciary duty is to you, the Trajan Wealth client. If you have an old 401k to roll over, or if you're working with an advisor who just isn't cutting the mustard and you need a second opinion, give Trajan Wealth a call. We have hearts of teachers, and we will take on your retirement battle together.
Call 480-990-3300 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Arizona's news station. KTAR. On air, 92.3 FM. Online at KTAR.com. And streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic now.
It's 12:30. I'm Jeff Munn. Here's our top story.
Arizona votes.
Phoenix residents passed a $500 million bond program in last night's election, but how will we see that money distributed?
The General Obligation Bond Program will split up the money between different city services, with the largest chunk of $214 million going to public safety. $109 million will go to libraries and parks, and $63 million will go to housing projects. The remaining $114 million will go to education and economic development. This is the first time a bond has been on the ballot in Phoenix in 17 years. Shira Tanzer, KTAR News.
You can read more on this story at KTAR.com. Border security will be one of the dominant issues for Arizona voters in 2024. Democratic strategist Tony Connie tells the Gatos and Chad show he believes President Biden will likely visit the border during the re-election campaign because it's a real challenge for him.
And what needs to happen is the president needs to find a way to bring people together to actually solve, what is a humanitarian crisis at the border.
The president has made several appearances in the state over the past few months without traveling to the border. Tune in all week as we bring you a special news series, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. We'll be looking ahead at the big races, the issues that will be on your ballot. We'll discuss election integrity and more. You can read, watch, and listen to our extensive coverage on 92.3 FM, the KTAR News app, and on KTAR.com. And our special program with Jim Sharp continues in just a few moments.
KTAR News. Focus on homelessness.
Valley cities are each trying to tackle homelessness in different ways. Mesa Mayor John Giles says the city's Off the Streets program for unhoused people is working, with 75% of people who leave the program finding permanent housing.
Most of the people that we serve there, 4 out of 5, have been women and children and elderly folks, disabled people. So it's not the traditional single male population that sometimes people are uncomfortable with.
He adds decisions like the recent purchase of the Grand Hotel to use as a shelter lets the city help even more people. Tempe's Innings Festival will offer double the chance to see your favorite sports and music stars. The Baseball and Music Festival in Tempe Beach Park will feature Red Hot Chili Peppers and Hozier as headliners on February 23rd and 24th. Chris Stapleton and the Dave Matthews Band will headline the following weekend. Ticket pre-sale begins Thursday. Let's get an update on traffic as we go live to the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center. Here's Chuck Rowe.
Thank you, Jeff. Looks like that freeway crash is out of lanes now on the 202 Red Mountain Freeway westbound. Just after Scottsdale Road, everything is off to the right. Just a little touch of the brakes as you head past the scene there. The only freeway slowing I'm seeing right now is through Buckeye, I-10 eastbound between 339th Avenue and State Route 85. You've got construction through there slowing you down. Also a crash south of there, State Route 85 at Southern Avenue. Pedestrian-involved crash, Power Road north of Pecos and Thomas Road west of 32nd Street, a crash in the clearing stages. I'm Chuck Rowe, KTAR News.
Sunny and breezy today with a high of 80. Tonight clear, the low 55. Right now in Phoenix, sunny skies, 75 degrees. Weather's brought to you by Howard Air. I'm Jeff Munn on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
KTAR News Special, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. Hosted by Jim Sharp on 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
And joining me this half hour is a couple of ladies that I have known for a while and know them from doing political work, actually. I'm talking about Stacey Pearson, who is the co-founder of Lumen Strategies, along with Chad Campbell, who has now gone on to be Governor Katie Hobbs' chief of staff. And on the right from Emily Ryan, we're getting here, who has spent the last 15 legislative sessions at the state capitol working with Copper State Consulting. So, Stacey, we didn't get you on the line until a little bit late in the show, so I'm going to give you first crack here as we talk about the presidential race. $821 million on political ads spent in Arizona over the 2024 season. A good portion of that, of course, is the presidential race. As a Democrat, what advice would you give Biden's campaign to get over the hump here?
Oh, that's a great question. Television's going to be unwatchable. And for the
right?
Biden campaign, to get over the hump is going to be connecting with Arizona and their actual issues, which involve water and crime and border security. Arizona voters are new to this position in the pivot. We're new to being a swing state, and we're a little grumpy because so many times the federal government has overlooked us. And so he's really going to have to get to the border. He's going to have to connect with voters. He's going to have to understand that given how physically large our communities are, gas prices hurt really bad. And we continue to have some of the highest gas prices, and commuters from Gilbert, Arizona, who are going downtown every day, know exactly what that did to their budget. So he really just needs to get in here and get on the ground.
Emily, what advice would you give Trump's campaign? Not that they're taking unsolicited advice, but in order to maintain and even maybe expand his lead here in Arizona, what does Trump need to do?
Yeah, or even solicited advice. I think the standard advice for Trump is to talk less and rein it in and dial it back, but he's not going to listen to anyone on that. And my real advice to both candidates would be exactly the same. Step aside and let someone else run. This may be the ultimate grudge match for the two of them, But American voters, Arizonans, everyone wants a real choice. I think we're all sick to death of voting for the person we hate the least.
Stacey, I've been hearing a lot about how Biden is not resonating with younger voters who are traditionally Democrat voters. Are you hearing that as well?
So, yes, but I also think that it's increasingly difficult to gauge opinions of those voters because they're not doing what Gen Xers like me do. They're not on Facebook posting about their lunch. They're not on Instagram in the same way. So they're not picking up their phone. They're not answering polls. They're not doing any of that. But ultimately, they're certainly not going to go back to the days of Trump.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are those never Trumpers. Of course, there's that faction within the Republican Party. Is there any way, Emily, that Trump can bring in the never Trumpers and go, well, okay, you know what? I'll give this guy a second chance, even though I voted for him the first time and he ticked me off so bad I couldn't vote for him the second time.
It's going to be hard for him to pull in never Trumpers, people that just aren't having it. However, never Trumpers voted for Biden last time around, and that hasn't been great either. So I think the more likely scenario is those people don't vote and they just stay home.
Okay. All right. This is what I think is really fascinating. Of course, we've got a presidential race that just about nobody wants to see, but we also have a U.S. Senate race in Arizona that has not only the potential to change who holds the power in that part of Congress, it has the potential to be the weirdest race anywhere in the country because potentially we've got 3 viable candidates running in this race. Arizona's 2024 U.S. Senate race will likely feature Democrat Congressman Ruben Gallego and Republican Kari Lake, and maybe the current sitting Senator Independent Kyrsten Sinema. Does Sinema run? And if she does, who does she help, Gallego or Lake? Emily, I'll let you field this first.
I think she does run. I don't think she's going to be able to resist testing that ability to run as an independent in Arizona. And I think if anyone can pull it off, it's Senator Sinema. Typically, I would say since she was a Democrat, she would take away votes from Gallego, but I don't think that's true. She has spent a lot of time making sure moderate Republicans feel very comfortable with her and comfortable with her choices and the votes she casts. I think she takes away female vote from Kari Lake. I think she takes away Republicans looking for an alternative to Lake, and she just might be the one to pull it off if she jumps in.
Stacey, legendary how much Gallego and Kyrsten Sinema dislike each other. Is it possible that he helps her, though? She helps him, I should say, if she runs?
Gosh, I think that Senator Sinema wrote the playbook on how to get elected as a Democrat in Arizona. And that includes the crossover voters in the Southeast Valley and the Latino voters as well. So she wrote the playbook that Congressman Gallego is going to have to follow if he wants to get elected statewide. Whether or not they are both running those similar campaigns is really going to be fascinating, and one that, to your point, the nation's going to be keeping an eye on. It is a new opportunity for partisan politics to break out of that rut.
I just don't. She just doesn't have the fundraising apparatus in place, though, being not with either one of the parties. That has to be weighing heavily on her mind, especially after that last quarterly report we saw. She did not do well.
Well, she hasn't announced, right?
That's
so
true.
The senator's not in the race yet, and she still raised $1 million. So I think the last quarter's fundraising report doesn't necessarily reflect the direction things are going to go. And with Kari Lake now in the race, it changes the game for moderates across the board. And certainly this race, regardless of who's in it, is largely going to be decided by new voters to Arizona. And those folks are coming to our state with PTSD from their states of origin. If they were Democrats in California, they're registering now as independents. They, bristle at high property taxes. They're upset about homelessness. They're coming in with their own issues from states of origin, if it's the Midwest or if it's the West Coast. And those folks are not as entrenched in Arizona politics as just by longevity. They're not as entrenched as us who carried lit for Senator Sinema in 2012 or worked on her campaign in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very clean slate for these candidates to be able to define themselves.
All right, and lastly, let's discuss candidate X, because we don't know who it's going to be. Paul Penzone is actually out here in the lobby right now. He's going to be joining me a little after 1. With him calling it quits, the most watched local race next year is going to have to be that sheriff's race. Do either of you have an opinion on who will or should run for that office? It's certainly one of the most high-profile sheriff jobs in the country. Stacey, I know you worked on Sheriff Penzone's first campaign, so I'm going to let Emily answer first, though.
Oh, who can fill Penzone's shoes? And I'm not just saying that because he's looking at me through the window. I'm still heartbroken that he's leaving. We've got to find someone that is willing to follow in his footsteps with not making that a partisan office and focusing on law enforcement. I don't know who that is. I have yet to hear someone come forward and express interest. It's a tough job.
Yeah. Stacey, I said you worked on his first campaign because I don't know if you worked on his second campaign, but is there anybody that can do things like Sheriff Penzone has done them?
Oh, I hope so. I don't know where that angel is hiding right now, but it's certainly important for our community to be able to find her or him. And we're really looking at that race and the Maricopa County attorney race. Right. And between those two seats, so much of our county's public safety is tied up there. And we do need another steady hand and someone who can just do a good job. And to Emily's point, not do a job that is particularly self-serving.
Yeah. All right. So appreciate your time, ladies. Stacey Pearson, a former coworker of mine. It's always good to talk to you. She's a political strategist who co-founded Lumen Strategies here in the Valley. And Emily Ryan, who has spent a lot of years working at Copper State Consulting down at the Capitol, bending some arms and ears. Mostly ears. All right. Stick around, because coming up still this afternoon, we have got a lot to talk about and a lot of people to talk with, including Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone. Garrett Archer, data analyst with our TV partners at ABC 15, will break down the numbers on who's registered which way, and NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd will join me a little later on around 1:30 to talk about Arizona's rising star on the national political stage. You are listening to Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out.
Battleground state, swing state, a state where an election is hotly contested. Races are extremely close and can be decided by a few thousand, a few hundred votes. All this week, KTAR News brings you a special content series, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. Listen for special reports, expert guests, and panel discussions. Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. This week on 92.3 FM and the KTAR News app.
Every day, safe, prepared, informed. Every day, safety is our top priority. At APS, we consistently make updates to our electrical system to keep our crews and customers safe around electricity. Remember these tips. Put safety covers on wall outlets. Call 811 before you dig to have the location of underground wires marked. And stay at least 100 feet away from downed power lines. For more ways to stay safe around electricity, visit aps.com/brighter.
The Beatitudes campus in North Central Phoenix has so many fun events that provide great opportunities to check them out. In fact, the final music and wine event of the fall season is coming up. I'm Jamie West. Friday evening, November 17th, enjoy a Violib Virtuoso that was so popular last season they asked him back. This final music and wine event of fall is Friday, November 17th. Get more details and RSVP by texting RSVP to 411-923. Text RSVP to 411-923 for more details.
America's favorite car show returns to Arizona with a huge weekend of cool cars, cool people, and good times. Grab your family and cruise on out to the Good Guys 26th Speedway Motors Southwest Nationals, November 17th through the 19th at West World of Scottsdale. See over 3,000 of the country's finest hot rods, muscle cars, and trick trucks on display. And don't miss your chance to see Good Guys' top 12 cars and trucks of the year live and in person. It's all going down November 17th through the 19th in Scottsdale. Hang with the Good Guys, where real car people come to play. Get details at good-guys.com.
They are redefining private label
With Natural Grocers brand products, quality isn't just a word to me. It's in every detail. Their house brand only brings you top-of-the-line products, whether it is the richest organic olive oil straight from Spain or exquisite chocolate truffles straight out of France. Natural Grocers brand gives your budget a break and your taste buds a surprise. Experience premium quality at always affordable price with Natural Grocers brand products. Find your store at naturalgrocers.com.
72 Sold is now the #1 fastest growing real estate company in Arizona and in the top 5 fastest growing real estate companies in the country in Inc. magazine. I'm Jamie West, and there's a reason the accolades just keep rolling in for 72 Sold. Their program works, and it's changing the way America sells homes for the better. 72 Sold makes selling your home fast and easy, and you can walk away with thousands more. Just put in your address to get your price, a higher price, at 72sold.com.
Hi, I'm David Hastings.
And I'm Kate Hastings for Hastings & Hastings. Dad, let's talk about experience.
If you or someone you know has been seriously injured in an auto accident, the one thing you need more than anything else is experience.
Serious accident cases are much more complicated and require expertise in Arizona law. At Hastings & Hastings, this is what we've done now for almost 45 years. We know what we're doing.
Our attorneys are right here in the Valley, not spread all over the country like these regional and national firms. In serious and catastrophic cases, you need Arizona lawyers who are experienced in Arizona law. You've got to have the right representation. We've settled numerous cases for $1 million or more and just settled a case for $15 million.
I can tell you, experience makes all the difference. Call Hastings & Hastings. Experienced Arizona attorneys, discount fees. It's about time.
Hey, it's Jim Sharp with Dr. Kopstein from K2 Vision RLE. Doc, I heard 50% of Americans have their lenses replaced by the time they're 75?
That's exactly right, Jim. As we near 50, our eye's natural lens starts to become dysfunctional. If you've now added readers to your need for glasses and contacts, it's a sign the quality and function of your natural lens is fading, and it's a steady decline towards cataracts.
Don't go another 20 plus years with poor vision, hassling with contacts and readers. Do what I did. Choose a quick, painless, refractive lens exchange from K2 Vision RLE and start enjoying great vision now.
Our new lens technology is truly amazing. After replacing over 100,000 lenses, we have the experience to guide each patient to their best solution. Even if that's recommending you wait a little while before RLE.
K2 Vision RLE can restore distance and near vision permanently, plus never develop a cataract. Read reviews and schedule a free Zoom consult now at k2visionrle.com. k2visionrle.com.
KTAR News Flash.
At 12:49, I'm Jeff Munn. Here's what you need to know right now. Arizona votes a New York Times poll as former President Trump beating President Biden 49 to 44% in Arizona. A Valley Democratic strategist says Biden is losing ground with younger voters here. Our special Arizona Votes 2024 one-year out coverage continues in just a moment. The third Republican presidential debate is tonight in Miami. The top 5 contenders behind the leading candidate, Donald Trump, will take part. Trump is holding a rally instead about 10 miles away. You can't get away from it right now. They're everywhere. The advertising for early Black Friday deals. Valley retail analyst Kristen Benz tells the Mike Broomhead Show consumers are going to get some good deals this holiday season because the economy is forcing retailers to really compete for your dollars. You're never more than 15 minutes away from today's top stories on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Made it through the summer with an older AC system? Congrats! Not so lucky? Had an expensive repair? No worries. Right now, Parker & Sons will refund in cash, that's right, cash, what you paid for that repair, up to $2,000, even if you didn't use Parker when you buy a new AC system from Parker. And new systems are just $99 a month, $3 a day.
I tipped that for lunch. Wow.
Call Parker at 602-2, then REPAIR.
We have emergency escape plans, but what is your retirement escape plan? That's the list of items you need to check off before you can retire comfortably. And the team at Acute Wealth Advisors, they want to help get you there with a no-cost, no-obligation consultation. Then you can make a retirement to-do plan. Travel, golf, relax, whatever makes you happy. Call the team at Acute Wealth Advisors today, 480-680-6868, or online at successinthenewretirement.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Acute Investment Advisory, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Acute Wealth Advisors, LLC.
A KTAR News Special. Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. Hosted by Jim Sharp on 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Yeah, and whether you are watching at KTAR.com and you go, that Sharp guy not only has a face for radio, he's got a body for radio, too. Or you're listening on the KTAR News app or at 92.3 FM. Thanks for joining us for this closer look at the races and the issues and the candidates that will put Arizona in the national spotlight for the 2024 elections. We are here until 2 o'clock. And speaking of the national spotlight, a little after 1:30 this afternoon, NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd will join me to discuss Arizona's rising star on the national political stage, how important we are to securing the presidency and control of the U.S. Senate. Also, still to come, in about 10 minutes or so, we'll be talking with Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone, soon to be retired Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone. And we'll ask him what kind of a candidate he'd like to see heading up the sheriff's office after the 2024 election. The sheriff's race expected to be the closest watched local race next year. And Garrett Archer will join us a little after 1:15. He is a data analyst with our TV partners at ABC 15, and he'll break down the numbers about how many people are registered Republican and Democrat and Independent, and which party holds the upper hand with registration, and what that spells for issues and candidates. Plus, I think this is fascinating. Garrett broke down yesterday's bond elections. I mean, everybody's like, bond elections, that's got to be so boring. He broke down the bond elections to kind of give us a preview of where the electorate will be going in the 2024 exciting and sexy presidential race, right? Like everybody's bonds. But no, it actually portends maybe how the U.S. Senate race will go and the presidential race will go here in Arizona. And speaking of which, there is a debate tonight, and it was the topic of my Sharper Point commentary that I bring you regularly around 7:45 every morning here on Arizona's Morning News on KTAR. And we talked about, presidents serving their first term. They're assumed to be their party's presidential nominees. So we're about 99% sure that Joe Biden will be the Democrat standard bearer in 2024. On the Republican side, the picture is less clear, but barely so, with Donald Trump dominating polling among GOP voters. A CBS News poll released this week shows the former president is the pick for more than 60% of Republican voters. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is the only other candidate with double-digit support, and he's a distant second at 18%. Still, DeSantis is joining the other four top non-Trump Republican presidential candidates on stage tonight for a debate. This morning, one of my favorite political consultants, Stan Barnes, told us that these five Republicans that aren't Trump,
who all seem in their own way qualified and with their own dignity and personality and all of that,
are going to be competing in a race for second place. And will essentially be
just shadowboxing and hoping that a conviction or lightning will strike or something will happen, and they'll be the breakout person and the one standing there to collect all the parts when it's time to go.
They aren't on the road to the White House. They're headed towards a dead end or even a political cul-de-sac, because Stan believes that Trump is a candidate who actually defies physics.
Whether you love him or hate him, he is not subject to the same political forces of gravity that have knocked out or moved forward almost any other candidate.
In other words, the real fireworks won't happen until it's just Biden and Trump on the same debate stage, something that dyed-in-the-wool, hyper-partisan Democrats and Republicans can't wait for.
People know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
Based on how that went last time,
Justice, radical left.
Would you shut up, man?
Listen,
most of the rest of us can wait. It is 12:55 at KTAR.
I'm a big believer in investing into what the wealthiest people in the world invest into. But it's not easy to know exactly what that is, and it hasn't always been possible for regular folks like you and I. But that's changing. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you've done a good job acquiring some assets, now is the time to consider private equity. Private equity is ownership of private companies that aren't traded on the stock market and in most cases are very exclusive. Examples could include ownership of apartments or nursing homes, dental practices, solar farms, you name it. Why do so many billionaires invest into private equity? Because of historically low correlation to the stock market and historically higher returns. If you have a goal with your portfolio but aren't there yet, call Trajan Wealth today. Call 480-990-3300. That's 480-990-3300.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. May require accreditation.
Hey, it's Pat. Now, I'm not a big candy person. I've always preferred salty treats, but I completely understand what it means to feel like a kid in a candy store. When I walk into a Valley Toyota dealer, whoa, boy, there's just so much to choose from. Camrys, RAV4s, Tacomas. I feel like a kid. And I'll be honest, once or twice, Mrs. Pat has had to drag me out of there kicking and screaming.
Right now, get 3.99% APR financing for 48 months on a versatile 2023 RAV4 or class-leading Tacoma. Or get a great lease deal on RAV4, Tundra, Tacoma, or versatile 4Runner. Come in today to shop the best inventory of the year. Visit your Valley Toyota dealer or valleytoyotadealers.com for details. Toyota, let's go places. 3.99% financing with $22.57 per thousand borrowed for 48 months. Zero down payment if you qualify. Offers end 12/5/23. See dealer for details.
Save on stuff you really need and stuff you bought for fun. Stuff you've always really wanted this holiday at Amazon. Stuff that is discounted if you're naughty or you're nice. Stuff to buy your grandma who drinks her Chardonnay with ice. Stuff to make you big and strong. Stuff we can't name in this song. Stuff for lawns and decking halls. Save big on stuff at Amazon. Stuff.
Hey folks, have you ever been told if you have to ask, then you can't afford it? That's especially true when it comes to replacing your old windows and doors, which is why my friends at Window World provide their lowest price up front without all the hassle. You see, some companies try to bait you with unrealistic offers and then force you to sit through endless sales pitches and complicated math before they hit you with a price of $2,000 to $3,000 or more for each window. So, for about the cost of just 2 windows from those other guys, you could have 7 premium windows installed from Window World of Phoenix. So avoid the nonsense. For top quality windows and doors, a true lifetime warranty, upfront pricing, and never any high-pressure sales tactics, call or schedule online at windowworldphoenix.com. That's windowworldphoenix.com. Window World, simply the best for less.
At Casa Galvisi this summer, we crushed it with a brand new AC system from Day and Night, air conditioning, heating, and plumbing. But now, what about the furnace? Are we sure it's good to go? Don't you want to be sure? Because right now, a heating system check is only $69. Only $69 to help prevent costly breakdowns, inspect for any dangerous carbon monoxide leaks, plus maintain that manufacturer's warranty. Only $69 this month to get your heating system checked at dayandnightair.com. Book your appointment 24/7 online at dayandnightair.com.
KTAR-FM, Glendale, Phoenix, Arizona's news station. KTAR News, 92.3 FM.
O'clock. I'm Jeff Munn. Here's our top story.
Arizona votes 2024 1 year out.
A New York Times poll has former President Trump up 49 to 44% in Arizona. A Valley Democratic strategist who headed up the Biden campaign in Arizona in 2020 says the president faces a pair of challenges in his re-election bid.
One of the issues Biden faces, especially with younger Arizona voters, according to Tony Connie on with KTAR's Giddos and Shad show, is his age.
The way it was handled last time is that you just have to put the president direct to camera a lot more. And a lot of the ads that we did in 2020, that's what those ads were like. And people saw them. They're like, oh, it's not as bad as, the clips that I've seen in the news.
And he says border security is going to be a big issue in Arizona. Connie believes the president will likely visit the border at some point during the campaign. Jim Cross, KTAR News.
The Biden administration taking a victory lap after big Election Day wins in state and local elections. Ohio voters approved referendums affirming abortion rights and legalizing marijuana. Virginia Democrats gained full control of the state legislature, and Kentucky's Democratic governor won re-election. Democrats racked up the wins despite recent polling showing low support for President Biden. At today's White House briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the Election Day results are a reminder that votes matter and polls do not.
In Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and in Virginia, voters once again sided with President Biden's agenda to stand up for fundamental freedoms and build an economy for the middle class and protect democracy.
just really kind of giving stability to such an important role in the community. Sometimes it is they want to see someone who is more socially engaged and involved in things that maybe are outside of public safety, but make you feel better because of the relational elements of it. For me, I guess it's bias. I'm going to say I like steady hand because I just think how law enforcement always represent itself, but the community's going to have to decide what they're looking for.
Yeah, but you're taking your steady hand off of this. Did you have a lot of second thoughts before you made this decision, or did you just say, you know what, this is the right thing to do, I'm moving forward?
Yeah, it was the most difficult, easy decision I've ever made.
Right.
A lot of factors went into it, and I think that some question or they think, well, was it the stress? Was it the job so difficult? Was it that he was handcuffed, as he described, because of the oversight? Those are all elements you take into consideration, but really it was a very personal decision from the space of gratified, joy-filled, fortunate. The privilege was incredible. But at this point in the stage of my life, I have other interests. And it's not like I want to abandon ship because I do believe there's a lot of talented law enforcement professionals who could step in there and do an exceptional job. So it was kind of a balance of the two, but it was really just a very personal, responsible, I'd like to say, and forward-facing decision that I made, and I want to leave at a time that I feel good about what I've done, and I want to turn over to the community to decide who the next one up is.
I know you won't answer who that might be, but I'm going to ask you, have you asked anybody to step up and run? Have you, behind the scenes, said, dude or lady, I need you to run for this office because you'll do things the way I've done things, and I think you'd make a great sheriff?
Well, I have not, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't think that necessarily a successor should do things the way that I've done them, or that I don't obviously do them the way my predecessor did them. I think you have to evolve it, and it has to be molded into your own personality, driven towards the same direction of public safety being the priority, not politics. I haven't asked anybody, but I've received some phone calls from people that are curious, and a big reason that I chose to leave prior to the end of the term, because I was concerned that if I stayed in that office till the very last day, that potential candidates would view it and go, well, what if Paul changes his mind? What if he decides, I'm speaking third person, so forgive me, but what if he decides to run, now it's a different situation. By vacating it and making an open seat, it truly is an open opportunity for people that might not have considered it otherwise. So I've fielded some calls, but it's a big difference of somebody saying, hey, I'm thinking about running, and actually getting into a race. It is, it's like saying I want to run a marathon, but actually training and running a marathon. Oof. It's painful.
Yeah.
I've done both.
Yeah. Which would you consider tougher? Running a campaign.
Physically, maybe the marathon broke me, but other ways I got a lot of gray hairs from this run.
I bet. Because you're vacating this office, I've been hearing the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is having a very hard time finding a qualified Democrat to temporarily fill your position. That's something that they are required to do since you ran as a Democrat. Can you give us any insight into the process, and have you given any input to the Board of Supervisors on this?
Yeah, but I've kept my input in this very limited space where I tell them the challenges, I tell them the pros and cons, and maybe to certain possibilities. In other words, as an example, I think it should stay in-house because it's such a short window of time from when I leave until when the election occurs. For someone from the outside to come in and learn the organization, learn the players, make critical decisions going into an election year when we have unrest in the Middle East, which affects our space here and our safety. Mm-hmm. Just all those other dynamics. I think you have to have someone who's already familiar with the organization. I don't get into the weeds, though, as far as who it should be, because that is the authority and the right of the Board of Supervisors. So if they ask me a direct question, what I think about an individual's strengths and weaknesses, I'll try to be very respectful. But what I don't want to do is influence that decision, because when I chose to leave, I kind of forfeited the right to have that kind of a say over what's the best next step for the community as it relates to the responsibility of the board.
You mentioned somebody from within the sheriff's office maybe stepping up to be temporarily the sheriff until this election can happen. But I hear that's one of the problems. When you get to the upper levels of command staff, it's a pay cut to become sheriff.
Pay cut, yeah, food stamps, coupons. I'm cutting them all trying to make a living. It is, yeah. I sit at a table with the executive team, and I think almost everybody in there makes double what I do. Obviously, I didn't pursue the job for that reason. I think the bigger challenge is, as I said, who do you think is the right fit for the circumstances that you have ahead of you? And you and I touched base on this. Listen, it is really uncommon for law enforcement professionals to be liberal or Democrats. Like even my historical background, I was an independent, and you have to replace an apple with an apple. So I was a registered D, therefore it has to be a Democrat. and you have to find one that is willing to be the sheriff, that happens to be a Democrat, that's qualified and that's available, or willing to take a pay cut. So there's a lot of unique dynamics that come into play, and that's why I think it may be challenging. But I know they'll get it done. It'll be fine. It'll be seamless.
All right. So will you eventually endorse somebody if you think they're qualified to be sheriff that runs in 2024?
I think I'll be comfortable giving my thoughts on, maybe what I like about it or what I'm concerned about it. But to endorse, again, coming out I never endorsed while I was in office. Did you notice that?
I guess I didn't. But
because I feel like,
mention it.
Yeah, when you endorse somebody and you're in public safety, you're a law enforcement professional, now you're in a space where, because of the power of the office, the power of the ability to affect the law, I think that there's some inherent elements that could be almost, I don't want to say corruption, but corrupted. And I always try to stay away from it. I'm talking all the way to the presidency. I was asked by presidential candidates to endorse because I had so much success in Maricopa County as a candidate. I don't say that arrogantly. That's just the reality of it. And I told presidential candidates I stay out of it because I don't think it's appropriate. People of all walks of life need to count on their sheriff to be nonpartisan. So I don't see myself endorsing a candidate for the office, but I would give my thoughts on their strengths or areas of concern.
Which is so the opposite of when I worked in politics. Anytime anybody was going to run for a high-profile office as a Republican, you had to go to Joe Arpaio, your predecessor, and essentially get his blessing. Yeah. And he handed out a lot of endorsements through the years. So that's kind of the opposite. Any thoughts on, or have you heard if Joe Arpaio's interested in trying to become sheriff again?
I try not to get into his business. I think he's running for a different office out there
in Fountain Hills.
Yeah. I'm going to leave that one out there just to hang out there in the wind. And listen, it is an incredible job. It's an incredible privilege. You have so much influence. It's not just the law enforcement side, but the things you can do for the community outside of your fundamental, responsibilities. Yeah. If your heart's in the right place, serving people. So that's what my hope is. My one hope is that it is truly a public servant, not a person who thinks that just because you sit in this high seat that suddenly you're empowered to make it about you. When you make it about you, it's time to get the hell out. And I've tried my best to never make it about me, to make it about the people, and that's why I wanted to leave the same man I entered. So whoever's up next, whatever that, he or she, their skill set is, their background, I just hope that they truly are a public servant.
All right. I have to ask. Will you tell us what your next job's going to be?
It's going to be fun and exciting. And no, you know what? The reason we've been close to the chest is close to the vest. I said that wrong. I made my decision to leave before I pursued where I wanted to go. And I never wanted that to be confused. And I felt like if right out of the chute, I'm like, hey, I'm leaving and here's where I'm going, it looked like I was enticed to go there, and that wasn't the case. It's an incredible opportunity working in the private sector for an organization that is just phenomenal in serving this community in a lot of different capacities, and they've given me an opportunity to do something really unique. So in the next few weeks, we'll make that known publicly. But even with that being said, I'll still be involved in a lot of ways in public service. This is my home and my family's home, and I care very much about it. So I'll be doing a lot of good things.
Wow, the way you put this, it does sound like maybe you're building it up too much, but it just sounds to me like you're going to be involved in public service and you're going to be doing this, and I'm like, I got to know what it is.
Yeah,
so.
I don't want to build it up that much. It's going to be like, wow, that was underwhelming, Paul. But it's not. It's cool. It's just so different. I think it's going to be like, you've seen me in this one space for so long, and then suddenly I'm wearing, something different. So it'll be unique for me, but it's going to be exciting.
Will you ever consider coming back to public office?
I think if it has to be a calling. I think it has to be that you truly are the right person because the circumstances almost demand that you do what's right by people. So I wouldn't say no. I just don't have. A lot of people in politics have this wish board, I think.
Right, they got a
We're like, okay,
plan.
here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. That's not me. I already hit the top of the list on anything I would want to do. So if I came back into politics, it would have to be the right circumstances, the right reasons, and I just happen to be the right person.
All right. That is soon-to-be retired Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone joining us here on Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. And next, how the makeup of the electorate is going to affect whether Trump or Biden wins here, where the U.S. Senate race goes. That's all ahead. Stick with us.
Breaking news, traffic, weather. It's what we do. KTAR News, Arizona's news station.
Such a blow to investors. Whether you're a big trader or whether you have a 401k.
Life can be complicated. Planning for retirement doesn't have to be.
So what we're looking at here is a plan and a strategy that guarantees the retirement income, but it doesn't give up that growth for safety.
Learn tips and tricks to help you move forward.
Debt's not always debt. And when you have the money to pay it off, it's called leveraging.
Tune in to The Parker Holland Show, Sundays at 9 a.m., right here on KTAR News.
Until no child misses a meal.
Until all students become graduates.
Until homelessness is gone for good.
Until all wages are living wages.
At Valley of the Sun United Way, we will never stop supporting our community until every child, family, and individual is healthy, has a safe place to live, and can succeed in school, work, and life. See how you can help at vsuw.org.
KTAR News Flash.
At 1:17, I'm Jeff Munn. Here's what you need to know right now. The third Republican presidential debate is tonight in Miami. The top 5 contenders behind the leading candidate Donald Trump will take part. Trump is holding a rally instead about 10 miles away. Our special Arizona Votes 2024 one-year out coverage continues in just a few moments as Jim Sharp is joined by Channel 15 data guru Garrett Archer. State Schools Chief Tom Horn is accusing Amnesty International and UNICEF of spreading disinformation about the Israel-Palestinian conflict following a presentation from the clubs at Desert Mountain High School this week. Horn says Jewish students reported feeling unsafe from the one-sided presentation, and he's asking state superintendents to not allow these clubs on campus. Phoenix Children's is set to open its all-new Arrowhead campus in Glendale next week. It will house 20 different specialties, such as spicology, dermatology, and a neurodiagnostic sleep lab. You're never more than 15 minutes away from today's top stories on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
KTAR News Special, Arizona Votes 2024 1 year out. Hosted by Jim Sharp on 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Whether you are listening or watching, we appreciate you being here, and stick around because at 1:30, NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd will join me to discuss Arizona's rising star on the national political stage and how important we are to securing the presidency and control of the U.S. Senate. Right now, we are going to chat with Garrett Archer, data analyst with our TV partners at ABC 15. Thanks for coming in, Garrett. I was talking about what you were posting yesterday on X, which is, you know, most people are like, it's a bond election. Oh, that's really exciting. But with voters in 6 cities, 23 school districts in Maricopa County casting their ballot on several issues, you actually created a map, and there was some contention between you and the wife about what colors were on the map. But basically what it lays out is seeing where support for particular Senate candidates might come from and presidential candidates. What did you find in the urban and suburban parts of Maricopa County and how they compared and contrasted?
Well, aside from me sort of admitting that I'm colorblind.
It was supposed to be orange and purple, and it didn't really work out that way.
Fair enough. Yeah. What I found was when you looked at the bonds, now, of course, the bond election, this is ultimately the most local election, right? We're
Absolutely.
talking 20% of the electorate. We're talking only voting on questions of bonds and budget overrides and city. Basically, it's a local jurisdiction election. But what was interesting about the results is when you map them out, specifically the school districts, you saw that the school districts in which the bonds and budgets are either very close or failing are all in the areas in which Republicans tend to do very well, which to me shows how the electorate in Maricopa County and elsewhere, of course, has basically become nationalized. So even these most local elections, as a bond and a budget override, is basically a reflection of what we see out there. So for example, the East Valley. This was an area that's very Republican. Gilbert, Queen Creek, both of those school districts, they're seeing their bonds and budget overrides failing right now. And really, there's not that many outstanding ballots left, so that's probably going to stick.
Now, what's interesting is when you get into the central parts of the valley and the very urban areas, you had these bonds passing. where they were run. And you've got an interesting mix there because you've got people who aren't really that well off, but you also have a lot of people that live in some very nice homes.
Yeah, there was a very...
and they're very educated.
Yeah, there's a very distinct difference here between, like, say, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, which both passed their bonds budget overrides, and then in downtown Phoenix, the midtown Phoenix, where, as you said, household incomes are a little lower. It's a bit more of a diverse population, and both of those passed their bonds and budget overrides. And what also is interesting about that, again, is that if there was one place where the Republicans had weakness in both 2022 and 2020, where they typically used to have strength, was in Scottsdale. And so it's just showing that sort of reflection of that nationalization of politics that we're sort of seeing happening right now.
As we're talking Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out with Garrett Archer, a data analyst at ABC 15, our TV partners. How is the electorate made up at this moment, both statewide and Maricopa County-wide? And do you see that changing much between now and the presidential preference primary in March, our overall primary in August, and then the general election in November?
So we're in a very rare period right now in which people who do not designate a party, so people who don't call themselves Republican or Democrat, they are in the majority of registered voters. They're about 34.6% statewide, and Republicans are about 34.2%. So it's really a hairline difference.
Wow.
Maricopa County, it's a much larger difference. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's about, I think, it's over 50,000. I think it is. It's pretty distinct at this point. Whereas Maricopa County, the independents are a much larger portion of Maricopa than compared to the statewide numbers, in which Republicans start to increase their numbers in the rural counties and whatnot. Now, what's interesting about that is that this is not the first time in Arizona's history that independents have been the top party. It was actually happening. It was trending that way until about 2016 when it changed directions. And but Republicans again became the top party. And then after 2020, we saw that reverse again, where independents started picking up, and new registrations now, more than half every month are independents. And so what this basically means is that will that change? Maybe, because it changed in 2016, but it's not going to change by a lot. So Republicans may become the majority party sometime in this next election year, but it's still going to be a very close number with independents. It's going to fall within that range of Republican, Independent, Democrat, or Democrat, Republican, or excuse me, Republican, Independent, or Independent, Republican, Democrat.
Gotcha. Yeah. One thing is for sure, the state has not flipped to blue. It's become more purple, maybe, over the last years, but all this talk about Arizona became a blue state. Well, I guess you can base that on, our statewide offices being won by Democrats, but not based on registration.
No, correct. Like, for example, what you find out, I pulled the turnout numbers in 2022. Now, I know this is a presidential election, but they'll be pretty close. Yeah. Even with independents being the largest party, they tend to vote at a much lower rate than Republicans and Democrats. So when, for example, in 2022, people say, I think the turnout was 61%, 58%, somewhere in there, and they're like, oh, only that many people, only 58% or whatever, came out for the midterms. Well, in reality, about 75% of Republicans showed up, about 70% of Democrats, and only 50% of independents.
Wow.
So what that means is, even with independents as the quote-unquote majority registered party, that trend, what I just quoted, is not going to change. And so Republicans will be the dominant party in the election as far as the amount of people who cast votes. Now, that has been shrinking by a lot over time. So like in 2014, Republicans had a double-digit advantage over Democrats. It shrunk in 2020 to a only 3-point advantage. There were only 3 points more Republicans than Democrats, and these are all numbers from Paul Bentz. He's one of my good friends over at. He does a lot of this stuff too.
High ground, yeah.
Yep. And then and what he says is he thinks that the 2024 election is going to be a +4 Republican advantage. Now, we've seen what happens when Republicans only have a +3 to +4 advantage in the electorate. We have Democratic office holders, so it may not be enough to get over a line, but we've also seen some polling recently indicating that the electorate is shifting slightly as far as their opinions. So
wow,
it's a crazy year. It's going to be a crazy year.
It is. And then you throw in the $821 million in expected political ad spending in Arizona. Wow. Thanks a lot, Garrett. I always appreciate you talking with us on Arizona's Morning News, and it's actually nice to meet you in person as he's wearing the Count from Sesame Street shirt, because that's your emoji.
That's my guy on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Right. All right. And coming up, Chuck Todd, NBC News chief political analyst, tells us about Arizona's rising star on the national political stage. Coming up.
KTAR News, 92.3 FM.
At Deer Valley Plumbing, all we do is plumbing. So who better to call when you need a drain cleared? You need it done now, and you need it done right. And that means you need a specialist. At Deer Valley Plumbing, we've been clearing drains for more than 30 years, and we're confident that once you invite us into your home, you'll never look for another plumber. We're in Deer Valley, but happily serving our neighbors valley-wide. Visit us at DeerValleyPlumbing.com.
Enjoy $25 off any plumbing service. Restrictions apply. DeerValleyPlumbing.com.
Here's another remarkable success story from QC Kinetics. This one from Chad, who hurt his knee at the gym one day, and it just kept on hurting for months.
From my high school football and wrestling days, I already had a little bit of damage in there, but this just sent it over the edge.
Chad tried traditional treatments with no improvement when he turned to the non-surgical regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
It was really fascinating how they did their work, and the science behind it was very intriguing, and it works. Extracting the cure out of my own body blew my mind. It's like I'm brand new again. It was fantastic.
That's because the QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments use your body's own healing power to restore damaged tissue in your hips, shoulders, back, and knees, providing long-lasting relief.
Now I'm back at the gym. I'm 100%, feeling great.
If you're tired of suffering with pain from arthritis or injury, call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 602-837-PAIN. That's 602-837-7246. 602-837-PAIN.
Moving Team 6 proudly supports and hires veterans.
So here at Moving Team 6, obviously we're a big proponent on military. So every time we have a veteran that comes in for an interview, we automatically get them into training and see if it's going to be a good option for them. We don't turn them away. It's always an option to try them out. If they've served our country, the best thing that we can do now is serve them and get them going. We're trying to work for our company. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work for them, that's fine. At least we know that we tried and we wanted to serve them back. We're big proponents on self-discipline, showing up, having a great attitude, working hard. If you work hard, we're going to take good care of you.
Here at Moving Team 6, another thing that we love to do is serving our community. That is huge. Serving charities, communities, especially where we 100 Club, that is big for us. But we want to serve our vets and we want to give back as much as we can. But community is so key for us.
We only hire the best at Moving Team 6. Visit us online at movingteam6.com. Your move is our mission.
Hi, I'm Jamie West with my friend Dave from Any Hour Services, and we're talking about the concerns you face as an Arizona homeowner. So how do I know if I have enough electrical outlets?
A good rule of thumb is to have at least one outlet for every 12 feet of wall space. Overusage of extension cords and power strips can be a huge fire hazard. Plus, they can get in the way. Don't hesitate to give us a call, and we'll lend a helping hand.
Call Any Hour Services for your electrical needs at 602-609-7187 or schedule at anyhourservices.com.
At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Introducing 24/7 lifeguard protection, only from Simply Safe Home Security. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Dell's Black Friday event is their biggest sale of the year. Shop limited time deals on laptops like the stylish, innovative XPS 13, engineered to do it all on the Intel Evo platform. Plus, save big on ultra-sharp monitors and top brand accessories. Shop now at Dell.com/deals to take advantage of financing options and get free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals for huge savings today.
School
is in full swing, and so is Pay Tribute to a Teacher, brought to you by your Valley Toyota dealers. In a world where knowledge shapes the future, there are those who light the way. They are our teachers. If you know a teacher who ignites curiosity in your child and fosters a love for learning, text the word teacher to 411-923 and nominate them for a $2,500 bonus. Pay Tribute to a Teacher, brought to you by your Valley Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
Message and data rates may apply.
Looking for a personalized approach to retirement planning and investing? Look no further than Bright Wealth Management. As a boutique investment firm, we offer individualized fiduciary services that puts your needs first. Our team of expert advisors will work with you to create a customized strategy tailored to your personal goals and risk tolerance. You can rest assured that your best interests are always our top priority. Give us a call at 888-777-4296 or visit us online at brightwm.com and listen to the Bright Wealth Management Show Sundays 3 to 4 p.m. on KTAR News 92.3 FM.
Know the signs of low T? Low sexual desire, low energy, fatigue. It can be natural as we get older. Vital for Men has helped thousands of men across the valley get their energy back. Not just to feel better, it's vital for husbands, dads, coaches, and men to feel their best every day and perform their best at work and home. Find out how TRT can help your energy, muscle mass, and make lifestyle changes that last. We are Vital for Men. New patients receive a free test that is vital for you. Visit vital4men.com.
Arizona's news station. KTAR, on air, 92.3 FM, online at KTAR.com, and streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic now.
It's 1:32. I'm Jeff Munn. Here's our top story.
Arizona votes 2024 1 year out.
A New York Times poll has former President Trump up 49 to 44% over President Biden in Arizona. Democratic strategist Tony Connie tells the Gatos and Chad show Biden is really struggling with younger voters in Arizona.
He's, in better shape than what people think. But look, this is an issue. Both of the front runners for office are advanced in age, and I think it's a thing that younger voters particularly are thinking about.
Connie says Biden will likely visit the border during the campaign to address border security because it's a real challenge for him. Tune in all week as we bring you a special news series, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. We'll be looking ahead at the big races, the issues that will be on your ballot. We'll discuss election integrity and more. You can read, watch, and listen to our extensive coverage on 92.3 FM, the KTAR News app, and on KTAR.com, and our special Arizona Votes 2024 show with Jim Sharp continues in just a few moments.
KTAR News, Eyes on Education.
State Schools Chief Tom Horn is accusing two global human rights organizations of spreading anti-Semitic disinformation to Valley students.
Horn explains the Amnesty International and UNICEF clubs on Desert Mountain High School's campus gave a presentation about the Israel-Palestinian conflict that was anti-Semitic in nature.
I have no authority to tell the schools what to do on this, but I advise them to keep Amnesty International and UNICEF out of their literature, and the clubs out of their schools, off of their campuses.
Horn says Jewish students reported feeling unsafe after the one-sided presentation, and he's asking statewide superintendents to not allow these clubs on their campuses. Desert Mountain has a walkout planned for tomorrow to show support for Palestinians in Gaza. Heidi Hommel, KTAR News.
KTAR has reached out to Amnesty International and UNICEF for comment and has not heard back. KTAR Eyes on the Economy. Maricopa County residents are running out of places to go as eviction rates climb. Patricia Duarte with Valley nonprofit Chicanos Por La Causa says there's a general shortage of legal and financial help available for renters in the Valley. The Department of Economic Security does have funds for renters, and she urges people in need to reach out. It's been an unusually warm start to November, but Gabriel Lojero with the National Weather Service says yesterday's high of 91 could be the last time Phoenix sees the 90-degree mark until next spring.
Through Friday, we're looking at highs around 80 degrees. And then over the weekend, temperatures do warm up a little bit back to the lower to middle 80s.
And will stay dry for the foreseeable future as this remarkable rainless streak continues, just over 1/10 of an inch since mid-March. get an update on traffic as we go live to the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center. Here's Chuck Rowe.
Thank you, Jeff. Had a freeway crash on the I-17 northbound after Anthem Way that just cleared from the lane, so watch for a little bit of slowing there between Anthem and New River. Also in Black Canyon City on the I-17 northbound, right around milepost 246, just after the Black Canyon City exit, there is a report of a brush fire there. It sounds like everything is off to the right, not seeing any slowing for that. Watch for a Surface Street wreck Peoria Avenue at 35th Avenue, and in Surprise, a crash at Greenway Road at Litchfield Road. This traffic report brought to you by Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax. Imagine the risk of depending on one person being right for your entire life savings. Spread the risk between multiple money managers. Go to AssetPreservationWealth.com to claim your free portfolio review. I'm Chuck Rowe, KTAR News.
Sunny with breezes today, a high of 80. Tonight, clear, the low 55. Right now in Phoenix, sunny skies, 78 degrees. Weather's brought to you by Howard Air. I'm Jeff Munn on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
A KTAR News Special, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. Hosted by Jim Sharp on 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd joins us most Fridays on Arizona's Morning News, and he's jumping in this afternoon to talk with us about Arizona's rising star on the national political stage. So, Chuck, it used to be names like McCain, Goldwater, maybe even Arpaio. It was certainly considered Republican, but when you hear Arizona now, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I mean, besides me, of course, right?
Well, of course. Look, it's swing state. It's one of the core states. I mean, in many ways. I mean, I love to, as you know, I'm also a massive sports fan, and one of my favorite maps that I like to show sometimes to show our political power. Right, the swing states that you and I grew up with were all touched the Great Lakes. Okay, in some form or another. Right, and in case you were wondering, massive high school football recruiting in the 70s and 80s. All the great players came from high schools that touched the Great Lakes. And you can actually look at this now. You go down 30, 40 years later, all the good high school football players are in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, all the swing states are moving north to south. Look, it's shrinking in the Great Lakes area, right? There are still Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, right? But Ohio's gone. Iowa's gone. Replaced by Arizona, Georgia. We saw Florida was sort of the first of the Sun Belts to get in there, and they'll probably bounce back into the battleground at some point. We know someday Texas is probably going to make its way in there, but with the Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia in some ways have replaced Iowa, Ohio. And to a lesser extent, I guess you could throw in maybe in Indiana there.
We've talked before about the $800 million plus expected to be spent on political ads in our state over the 2024 election cycle, including being spent on our U.S. Senate race, which could be the most expensive anywhere ever. I know you can't break it down by percentages, but where is that money coming from? It's not all being spent by campaigns either.
No, I mean, look, a good chunk of it. Everybody has their own billionaire, right? If you're going to run in a Senate race, you got to go get a billionaire. So there's a couple. You get people to write the big checks for super PACs, but grassroots fundraising is more important than ever, too. And in these big Senate races, having a national fundraising base. Look, Ruben Gallego. I mean, thanks to sort of Sinema's party switch and this sort of nationalization per race, he's built this massive progressive donor base. Carrie Lake, and what she's done, has built a massive mega donor base. These small donors, it churns out. It is a small business these days. So it's the combination of small donors, and you got to have a lot of them. And if you're a MAGA wing, that's about the only Republicans that have small donors, or those closest with the Trump wing of the party. And then the progressive wing and the Democratic Party does well with it. But then everybody's got a super PAC somewhere, right? And finds their personal billionaire. And all three of these candidates will have at least one billionaire writing a check for them.
And there's going to be a lot of dark money, maybe more dark money than ever spent in an election season.
I know, and we've so gone out. It's impossible to keep track of until after the election at times. It's like you have to wait until the IRS filings. I mean, you're absolutely right. And you won't know. Some of it we'll never know what's in there. But there's quite a few folks, that's one of the complaints that Blake Masters, sort of the Peter Thiel, right? He's sort of financial godfather. He prefers to write his checks now to places that don't reveal his name because he didn't like all the extra attention that he got. So I promise you, because Blake Masters is running for something down there in the House race, Peter Thiel's going to write money, but we may not see evidence of it in the same way because of these dark money rules.
All right. NBC News Chief Political Analyst Chuck Todd. I'm hoping we'll talk on Friday morning around 6:40 on Arizona's Morning News. More on Arizona Votes 2024, a year out, coming up.
The boot artisans at Dan Post handcraft their boots with the highest standards, using the best materials and a mastery of the craft. Since 1965, Dan Post has stood as a beacon of quality that supports a proud Western heritage. With every step, their boots echo the tenacity of the West. Find them at Boot Barn.
Bodify has only offered cool sculpting because they wanted to be the master of one, not a jack of all trades. But when you, the client, asked about treatments for skin concerns, Morpheus 8 was the perfect choice for Bodify. Whether it's fine lines, wrinkles, or other skin issues, choose Bodify, the experts in cool sculpting and Morpheus 8. Visit freezemeaz.com to book a free consultation and claim your $500 introductory pricing coupon. Again, that's freezemeaz.com.
This month would have been my 27th wedding anniversary. I had envisioned sitting on the beach, watching the sun, setting over the ocean, and cherishing our beautiful life together. But that was not to be. With one chilling phone call, my world was shattered after being told my fun and charismatic husband had passed. This is Deb, owner of RJP Estate Planning. I was so thankful we had a living trust. This gave me peace of mind, knowing our assets were protected, so I could attend to my grieving daughters and my business. Tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. To protect the people you love, call RJP Estate Planning today.
If you're at least 60 years old, celebrate RJP's Black Friday event. Get 65% off on a living trust. Call 480-896-9597 by November 10th for your 65% discount. Call 480-896-9597. 480-896-9597.
72 Sold is now the #1 fastest growing real estate company in Arizona and in the top 5 fastest growing real estate companies in the country in Inc. magazine. I'm Jamie West, and there's a reason the accolades just keep rolling in for 72 Sold. Their program works, and it's changing the way America sells homes for the better. 72 Sold makes selling your home fast and easy, and you can walk away with thousands more. Just put in your address to get your price, a higher price, at 72sold.com.
Every strawberry, every apple, and every beet bunch at Natural Grocers is 100% organic. That's right, a full 100%. Natural Grocers is unwavering unwavering in their commitment to organic produce, while other stores might tease you with organic sections that are mixed with conventional produce. When you shop at natural grocers, there's no guesswork and possible cross-contamination from synthetic pesticides. They bet the other stores can't say that. Discover they're always affordable, truly organic produce today. Find your store at naturalgrocers.com.
KTAR News Flash.
At 1:45, I'm Jeff Munn. Here's what you need to know right now. Arizona votes a New York Times poll has former President Trump beating President Biden 49 to 44% in Arizona. A Valley Democratic strategist says Biden is losing ground with younger voters here. Our special Arizona Votes 2024 show with Jim Sharp continues in just a few moments. State Schools Chief Tom Horn is accusing Amnesty International and UNICEF of spreading disinformation about the Israel-Palestinian conflict following a presentation from the clubs at Desert Mountain High School this week. Horn says Jewish students reported feeling unsafe from the one-sided presentation, and he's asking state superintendents to not allow these clubs on campus. KTAR has reached out to Amnesty International and UNICEF for comment and has not heard back. Phoenix Children's is set to open its all-new Arrowhead campus in Glendale next week. It will house 20 different specialties, such as dermatology and a neurodiagnostic sleep lab. The campus, located near 67th Avenue and Union Hills, will expand into a full-scale hospital and emergency department next year. You're never more than 15 minutes away from today's top stories on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Made it through the summer with an older AC system? Congrats! Not so lucky? Had an expensive repair? No worries. Right now, Parker & Sons will refund in cash, that's right, cash, what you paid for that repair, up to $2,000, even if you didn't use Parker when you buy a new AC system from Parker. And new systems are just $99 a month, $3 a day.
I tipped that for lunch. Wow.
Call Parker at 602, the number 2, then REPAIR.
It's Gatos. Are you tired of worrying about your leaky roof? Well, look no further. My friends at America Roofing are here for you, your trusted roofing company that guarantees top-notch service and exceptional results. I chose America Roofing for many different reasons: experience and expertise, quality materials, timely service, attention to detail, and the best customer satisfaction. Call America Roofing at 602-960-ROOF. America Roofing. We've got you covered.
ROC number 18643ACR42. A KTAR News Special, Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out. Hosted by Jim Sharp on 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Want to say thank you to all the people who have joined us this afternoon. Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone, who was a little bit coy about talking about what kind of a person he'd like to see replace him in the 2024 election, as he's going to resign his office before the new year. Also, thanks again to Chuck Todd, NBC News chief political analyst, talking about Arizona on the national stage. And if you missed any of this, you can go to the podcast page at KTAR.com to get caught up on this. A little earlier, we talked about the candidates and we talked about the issues with a couple of political advisors, one from the right and one from the left. And now let's take that straight down the middle look with KTAR reporter Heidi Hommel, who was featured this morning on Arizona's Morning News, talking about the issues that will be top of mind in our election in 2024, which is, as we've been saying all week, is 1 year out. There's a lot of issues that are going to be a part of this election in the next year, Heidi.
Yes, Jim. And I was able to sort of boil it down to 3 from all the issues that we have. And that would be the economy, abortion rights, and immigration.
So Arizona's economy seems to be doing better than a lot of other places, but we did have the highest rates of inflation for a long stretch. Housing caused a lot of that, and we are on the high end for gas prices. Those 2 things alone would make most people say we aren't doing so well, but this is obviously going to be a huge campaign issue.
Yes, and I talked to Chief Pollster Paul Bentz with High Ground Consulting, and he agreed with you. Let me play that bite here.
Especially in Washington, D.C., they talk a lot about the economy and how that's going to be the driver for the election. We're not seeing that here yet.
So Ben's talked to me about those semiconductor companies coming here and lots of microchip manufacturing in the Valley. And our economy has fared better than some of the other cities across the nation. But also, you're right, gas prices are up, rent is up. The housing market is up. Interest rates are up. Groceries, student loan payments just started back up.
Right,
so
right.
Arizonans are definitely feeling it in their wallets. So that's why I think the economy could be the number one issue heading into next year's election.
It'll be interesting to see, and I'm not asking you to comment on this, but it'll be interesting to see if people who are now making student loans again, if they will be unhappy about it, or if they'll be forgiving towards Joe Biden because he at least tried to, get so much of this money deferred or actually forgiven. So abortion rights, that was huge actually yesterday. They passed a constitutional amendment in Ohio that essentially enshrined abortion rights. It's going to be an issue here in Arizona, too.
Yes, and we could see it on the ballot next year. It's unclear if it will be, but right now there's a coalition of abortion rights groups gathering signatures right now, and they're trying to get it on the ballot in Arizona next year. And Paul Bentz, who I talked to, he thinks that we will see it on the ballot. And when this group announced that they were out gathering signatures to get it on the ballot next year, Governor Hobbs released a statement echoing the same sentiment, that she thinks that Arizonans will be able to voice their opinions on the issue in next year's election. So,
do we know if it's going to be if it's going to be an initiative in the sense of it's going to become a law? Because we have that ability here in Arizona that we can either do a referendum where the legislature says, "Okay, you the people decide if we're going to have a law," or an initiative where that's from the ground up, people just gather signatures and then they go out and have a law put on the ballot for voters to vote on. Or could it end up actually being like it was in Ohio, a constitutional amendment?
So we don't know that yet. We don't know what it's going to look like. Because, and this is the experts I talked to, they said that's why abortion's really hard to poll. It's one of the newest topics that they started polling because you have the 15-week ban or the 6-week ban. So it's hard to sort of gauge how people feel about it because there kind of is a middle area with, the number of weeks and how far you want to allow abortions up to what term.
Interestingly, from what I understand, what they did in Ohio, it kind of basically says we're going to protect the right to an abortion, but they didn't really put specific parameters on it so that it can be codified by the legislature. All right, immigration. This is always, every time we have a major presidential election, immigration always rises to the top. The border, immigration, this is always a top issue in Arizona.
Yes, it remains a top issue. It has been, and it remains one. Let me play you something from Paul Bentz.
It's the number one issue for Republicans. Republicans have been on immigration for more than a decade now. It maintains the top issue. It fluctuates when we've had issues like the caravan or unaccompanied minors.
And both experts I talked to, Paul Bentz and Mike Noble with Noble Predictive Insights, agree that what's the top issue before an election kind of reflects media coverage. Mm-hmm. So when Title 42 went away in May, we saw a ton of media coverage, right? Nationally and especially here in Arizona. So, and we've seen more stories, popping up ever since then about undocumented migrants coming over the border. So it's really going to depend, what does the border situation look like heading into the election? And that's why when all the candidates come to visit Arizona, they go to the border because they want the media coverage.
With one major exception, Joe Biden, who has not gone to the border when he's come to Arizona. We had a Democratic political advisor on a little earlier, Stacey Pearson, who said that even she thinks that Joe Biden has to go to the border. It's interesting how this either works for or against you. And I think part of this is just what Joe Biden considers to be his base, thinking that they're all for having an open border when we've seen Democrats like Katie Hobbs provide millions to border communities. And she's a Democrat. And a lot of Republicans on the border very grateful to this Democratic governor for this. So it has to be a top issue. And it's one of those ones that is really becoming a top issue for Arizona because for the last 3 months, that we've had these numbers reported by the Department of Homeland Security, what's called border encounters, which is essentially arrests. The number one spot in the entire nation, the number one border patrol section has been the Tucson sector, and that's firmly in Arizona. And so it's a top issue for sure.
Absolutely. And whether Biden will go to the border, you can definitely expect him to have a border ad. Mike Noble said that almost all the candidates in the months leading up to the 2024 election will absolutely have a border ad.
Yeah, something I thought back when I was a political consultant, I thought, you know what, we should just do a set that looks like the border fence. And then you can invite people. You just charge them a few $100s rather than having to actually take a caravan down to the border and actually do your commercial in front of the border wall. Thanks you very much, Heidi. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Heidi Hummel with what are expected to be the major issues in Arizona votes 2024. 1 year out we are now from the election, the economy, abortion rights, immigration. Will some other things join that list, like water? Not a very sexy topic, but such a vital topic for the state of Arizona. Well, we'll continue to explore that as Arizona Votes 2024, 1 year out, continues. Our special series running all week. We'll tackle it tomorrow as well on Arizona's Morning News when Jamie West and I will join you starting at 5 a.m. here on KTAR.